Another one. Another one. Another one. Another one. Another one.
So, as you can see, I've been dealing with some copyright problems, and that's why I haven't posted any videos in a week, and why you might have noticed that some of my other videos got taken down. So if in the near future any other videos get taken down, that's probably why. But I've been working on getting that fixed, so it shouldn't be a problem for too much longer. Just thought I'd give a quick update on that. So now, into the video. Over the past few years, the Toronto Raptors have been known as always finishing the regular season as one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, and even the NBA. But once they get to the playoffs, things change. Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan have a habit of randomly disappearing in games and destroying any chance they had that year. It's something that's been going on their entire careers in Toronto, and there hasn't been any real explanation, which is a huge problem for the Toronto Raptors. But that's not even Toronto's biggest problem. So we're going to look at their playoff problems with the entire team, and their one big problem that's holding them back from their real potential. Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan are both four-time All-Stars that have been known as one of the best backcourts in the NBA today. They've been getting better every single year, and like I said, they've helped the Toronto Raptors be known as a team that's always going to finish in one of the top spots in the Eastern Conference. Over the past 4 years, they finished in at least the top 4 seeds in the East, and with at least 48 wins every season. Over that stretch in the regular season, Kyle Lowry's averaged nearly 20 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds a game, leading to him being a 4-time All-Star. And DeRozan's averaged 23 points, 4 assists, and 4 rebounds a game, and has been a 3-time All-Star. They've definitely been some of the league's best regular season players, but that's where the problem comes in. They both disappear in the playoffs every single year. They do have their great games and they've beaten some good teams, but they also have had games where they completely get blown out and are nowhere to be seen. It's not even the fact that they haven't made the finals or haven't been able to beat whatever team LeBron's on, because nobody in the East has. It's the fact that win or lose, in the playoffs in general, both Lowry and DeRozan are two of the most inconsistent players in the NBA today and maybe ever. I don't know if there's just something in the water in Canada, or it's just the way their team is structured, or if their games just aren't fit for playoff basketball. But it's not just one of those guys that has terrible games, it's both of them. Over the past 4 years, they finished with the 4th best record in the Eastern Conference, the 3rd best twice, and the best record this past season. But they've been eliminated by a sweep 3 of the last 4 years, twice by the Cavs and once by the Wizards. To break down just how inconsistent the Raptors are, let's take a look at some key games over the years. In the 2015 playoff series that they got swept by the Wizards, Game 1 Kyle Lowry finished with 7 points and DeRozan had 15, and in Game 2 Lowry had 6 points. In the 2016 playoffs, in Game 1 of the first round against the Pacers, DeRozan had 14 and Lowry only scored 11 in a loss. In Game 2, DeRozan had 10. In Game 4, Lowry scored 12 and DeRozan only scored 8. And then in Game 6, DeRozan had 8 points. And then in the Eastern Conference Finals that year against the Cavs, Game 1, Lowry scored 8, and then Game 2, he only had 10. And you get the point. The same thing went on for the 2017 playoffs. And then finally this past year when they got swept again by Cleveland, DeRozan had 8 points in Game 2, and then in Game 4, Lowry had 5 and DeRozan had 12. Now there might be some arguments that could be made, like Kyle Lowry's more of an all-around player than just a scorer, and stats don't mean everything, but in mainly all of these games the Raptors lost, and it wasn't just from not scoring. Because they would go entire games that not only did they not score, but they didn't do much of anything to contribute to the game. As all-stars and guys that are known as franchise players, this just can't happen. Because as you can see, it wasn't just 1 or 2 bad games, and it's not a coincidence. It's a bad habit that they both have that looks like they're really never gonna break, at least as teammates. And it's a little weird that it's not just one of these guys that has this problem, but it's both of them. But either way, that's not even their main problem, because this is where their real problem comes in. They fired Dwayne Casey after he was just voted the coach of the year. I mean, that's never happened in NBA history and it shouldn't ever happen. So their problem is the fact that after Lowry and DeRozan's track record, instead of thinking that there's something wrong with the structure of their team or one of their star players, they didn't first think about trying to break up their team and trading one of their stars, or even trying to add another star. Instead, they fired the coach of the year. DeRozan and Lowry have been teammates for 6 years now, and they've gotten better every year, but it's just not working. It is good to find out though that the Raptors quietly explored trade options for DeRozan in 2017, and reports have come out and said that the Raptors are now exploring all options, including trading DeMar and Kyle, which is a good sign. But we gotta wait and see if anything actually comes of it. Now, about 6 months ago, halfway into the season, I made a video talking about how either DeMar DeRozan or Kyle Lowry needs to get traded, because once they get in the playoffs they disappear and it doesn't look like they'll ever win a championship with that team. And I got so many dislikes and so many comments saying how that was the stupidest thing ever, because at the time they had the best record in the league and they were both great players. But the second the Toronto Raptors got swept again in this year's playoffs, people instantly brought up the conversation on which one of the Raptors players Toronto should trade. Huh.
Well, would you look at that?
I just thought I'd throw that out there. But seriously, they lost their coach, but it still might be able to be fixed. They don't have anywhere near enough salary room to sign any solid free agents, because they already have one of the highest paid teams in the league for next season, and they're already over the luxury tax limit with big contracts like Lowry getting $31 million next season, DeRozan making $27 million, Serge Ibaka getting $21 million, and Jonas Valanciunas due to be making $16 million. Now at first, they could try to trade Valanciunas to make their own real big three. I talked about in one of my other videos how there's a possibility that they could trade Marc Gasol for Valanciunas this offseason to switch things up, and I think it'd be a great move for both teams. Or maybe even a trade involving DeAndre Jordan or Hassan Whiteside. It makes sense because both of those guys are unhappy with their teams, and Valanciunas is a young center that can grow with a rebuilding team. And it's a move that they should consider, because I think the Raptors are in a similar problem to the Washington Wizards, where they have a great backcourt with some solid role players, but maybe they just need that big man to take them to the next level. Besides those trades though, I couldn't really find anything else for Valanciunas, and no solid trades for Ibaka. So if those don't happen, they can start looking into a rebuild or look deeper into trading DeMar DeRozan or Kyle Lowry, which would make the most sense. There weren't too many real deals that would work for DeMar and make sense, but one I did see would be to trade Andrew Wiggins for DeRozan. Rumors came out a few months ago that Wiggins hasn't been happy in Minnesota, so a trade would send him to his hometown team in Canada, and it would let the Raptors have a shot with a new team dynamic. The Timberwolves do already have Butler at shooting guard, but they can always move him to small forward, and it would add another great scorer to their team. It would team up DeRozan with two other star players, and it would take the pressure off of him of being the guy in the playoffs, since it doesn't look like he's suited for that role. And then there were rumors over the draft that Kyle Lowry was made very available in hopes that they could get a top 10 pick in return. That kind of throws off what I said earlier in the video, but we're gonna roll with it. The point now is that we're looking at trades for Kyle Lowry. It's interesting though, because that makes you wonder if they're trying to blow their team up since they tried to trade Lowry away for a rookie. I'm not surprised the trade didn't happen though, because none of those top 10 teams were in a position to get a 32-year-old Kyle Lowry. Most were either in a complete rebuild or working their way up with a young team. And besides that, I haven't really seen too many other trades for Lowry that would work. The only things that have come up is maybe a trade to the 76ers for some young players and picks in return, or to Utah with a trade centered around Ricky Rubio and picks, but not even those make too much sense because Philly and Utah are both young teams. I mean, Lowry's great, but I don't see too many teams in a position to be lining up for him. So it looks like Toronto wants to do something with their roster, whether it's rebuilding or switching things up. But by the looks of it, they're really limited on any trades that would actually work, since they have 4 players with big contracts, that a trade wouldn't make sense for most teams. And then the rest of the roster are all on small contracts. The original problem of the Raptors not winning in the playoffs stands. The other problem of them not changing up their team got a little thrown off. But now the third problem of them not having any options for a trade also still stands. So there you have it. The Toronto Raptors may be one of the best regular season teams in the league, But as you can see, they're really in a bad position right now, and we'll have to wait to see if they can find their way out of it. If you guys got any thoughts on how they can fix their team, or maybe any trades that could help the Raptors that I might have missed, comment and let me know what you think. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll catch you next video.